Hey there, Jordan Sheridan, live Status Coup, Monday, December 20th, 2021. Hope everybody is having an okay day in these trying times. Things are a little crazy at the moment. Obviously, there is COVID that is ramping up again, the new Omicron variant that right now, at least in New York, is seeing record numbers of cases. It is thought that the new Omicron variant, at least, is not as deadly if you're fully vaccinated, but we don't know if the proof will be in the pudding. So at the moment, it is spreading throughout the country, but specifically in New York and the Northeast. So we will monitor that. There is also another deadly contagion spreading throughout the United Corporations of America, and that would be corruption. That would be corruption. So I got a big show for you today. First, we're going to have an activist and resident of West Virginia who I interviewed while I was on the ground there over the summer, Pam Garrison with the Poor People's Campaign. Pam has been on the front lines. She's been at several protests of West Virginia Senator, or shall I say President, Joe Manchin, who right now, it seems, has killed the Build Back Better plan, which, frankly, if you ask me, whatever was going to pass in the Build Back Better plan was rump roast compared to what we actually need. But he, as of now, has killed even the rump roast. So we're going to get into that. I'm also going to have Steve Grumbine on of Real Progressives to talk about Manchin, but also the progressive movement, because we can't just blame Manchin here. We need to look at why was Manchin even in a position to kill bold legislation in the first place? Why is it that the elected progressives that we elected, that you knocked on doors, you volunteered for, you gave money to, why is it that it seems to me, and based on all the evidence, and I've cut a few clips for you, they refuse to even call him corrupt. They won't call Manchin or the other Democrats that are routinely stripping down this legislation. They won't call them what they are, corrupt. They would not go on offense against them. So we're going to talk to Steve about that, as well as Manchin's deep, grave concern of, how much this is going to cost and inflation and all that stuff. But before that, smash the like button right under the live stream. Share this live stream. We already almost have 100 people watching. We need a lot more people to press the like button. Press the share button too. Super chats are welcome. I'll read them at the end of the live stream. We really, really appreciate it. All right. So I wanted to bring on Pam Garrison. You are with the Poor People's Campaign down in West Virginia, and you are also a West Virginia resident. I guess I could say, if it's not offensive, you're low income down in West Virginia, a cashier, a grandmother. These issues that Manchin has been blocking are not some, separate thing to you. You've experienced day in and day out poverty in West Virginia. So I wanted to first ask you, because the media, if you just pay attention to the media all day, they keep saying, well, Manchin's just doing what he has to do because West Virginia is a Republican state. And these proposals in the Build Back Better plan, like the child tax credit, universal pre-K, elder care, climate proposals, they're not popular in West Virginia. I don't know. I've been to West Virginia a few times. It seems to me, I've spoken with people like you. I've spoken with Republicans. Seems to me that's not true. Seems to be these provisions are popular across both party lines, but the media keeps feeding us that he has to do this because it's a Republican state.
Well, I heard Mr. Manchin just say that he can't come to West Virginia and explain why that he would vote for that. Well, I want him to come here and explain to 90% of West Virginia why he's not voting for it. I've been, like you said, on the front line since last February, trying to get Manchin to do the right thing. took the minimum wage raise out of the CARES Act. I fought for the people in this country. I stand here for 140 million poor and low wage workers, 710,000 just here in West Virginia. I heard a conservative on TV yesterday after Senator Manchin said what he said, telling Senator Manchin, yes, we need this. We're living in poverty. West Virginia needs this. And I'm puzzled by this. We've got 50 other senators that's up there that are the conservatives. And this man standing there telling me he's a conservative, but Joe Manchin needs to do the right thing. Well, I'm here to say Joe Manchin does, and all the ones hiding behind him. But so does the 50 other that's standing there. Because here in West Virginia, we are bright red. Joe Manchin's the only Democrat we've got in there. The rest of them are Republicans. This ain't a Republican or Democrat issue. There is poverty and poor Republicans and Democrats. And I want to know where they're all at. Here in West Virginia, we're already starting to see they're going to do vigils. They're going to start doing, they do not agree with this. This Build Back Better bill, this ain't a handout. This is the poor people actually getting a seat at the table for once instead of the crumbs off of it. This is us being able, I've been out there telling people we only get what we organize for and what we stand for. Stand up before it's too late, before our democracy's gone, before we are right now like peasants that we're catering to the oligarchies. They're bringing us down, destroying us, and putting their foot on our neck and telling us, oh, you can't have nothing. But they just passed a military bill. Looking at the billions they just gave the military. Look at the millions and billions we just paid for Trump's golf trips. Now, come on. But the people ain't worth our poor old disabled some home health care, our poor old mothers that are struggling and can't get in, trying to keep their power on. They're just now going to take their child tax credits. This is the middle of winter in West Virginia. We're the mountains. We get below zero for months. And you're telling us we can't even pay our electric bills. Joe Manchin's dirty coal. Let me tell you how dirty he is. He came swooping in here with the Public Service Commission to keep power plants, coal power plants open that he's supplying the dirty coal for, and then put the cost on our backs after giving the utility companies a 17.some% raise. They turned right around and selling more capital, and Joe Manchin came in here lobbying our Public Service Commission that's supposed to be looking out for us, and now we're paying for their coal to keep their coal power plants. We don't want it. I don't care if you got coal. You pay for it, not me. I'm poor. And we have had enough.
And I want to read, and by the way, smash the like button, share this so we can get it out to more people. Like buttons right onto the live stream. I want to read this to you because I find it just incredible what he said. This is from the Huffington Post. Apparently, Joe Manchin privately told colleagues that he was worried the child tax credit money, that parents would spend it on drugs instead of their kids. Colin, if you have that from the Huffington Post. In recent months, Manchin has told several of his fellow Democrats that he thought parents would waste monthly child tax credit payments on drugs instead of providing for their children, according to two sources familiar with the senator's comments. Continuing the child tax credit for another year is core part of the Build Back Better plan. Manchin's private comments shocked several senators who saw it as an unfair assault on his own constituents and those struggling to raise children in poverty. Now, I know you're a grandmother down there. Besides the fact that, honestly, I don't even know. I mean, I know right-wingers that would say that, but I don't know a lot of them. I mean, that's a pretty, frankly, in my view, condescending, borderline, in some cases, racist statement. But I mean, I've been to West Virginia. Across the board, it's either the top or the second poorest state in the country. He claims that he's so in line and so in sync with his constituents, what they want. Well, if you know and you are so connected to what your constituents, he would know they're not going to use it on drugs. They're going to use it on food. They're going to use it on clothing. They're going to use it to pay off debt. Maybe they're going to use it, not that it's a lot of money, but a lot of West Virginians don't have teeth. What's your response that Manchin, based on the reporting, seemed to think that you poor folks in West Virginia can't be trusted with the child tax credit? You'd spend it on drugs.
I say he's a hypocrite. He set his hind in there, and his daughter sat there in pharma, helped ripping West Virginians off. They sat there and watched them dump millions and billions of dollars worth of drugs in our state and did absolutely nothing about it. Our kids we buried, what ones ain't maimed or in prison, they're dead. And they sat there and did nothing for us. And then you're going to take and call us a bunch of druggies? We're so friggin' poor, we can't afford the drugs. Are you kidding me? If we did, and what few that are strung out on them are selling them to pay their electric bills. They're selling them to try to take and survive. They're homeless. What? I mean, they live in their own little bubbles. Get out here in the real world. See our homes that it looks like shanties falling down. Get out here and look at what these real young people are looking at, these $7 an hour jobs, and they're looking at $1,000 worth of rent. Get your hind end out of your glass house and get down here with us real people and see how we're surviving.
You know, I
You
wanted
see
to
me
get.
with this mask on right now, Jordan?
I do.
I had to have dental surgery. I just turned 62 years old. I thought I could go ahead and draw my Medicare, and I was going to have some dental in the Medicare. No, he jerks that out. Here in West Virginia, they actually realized how desperate we were. We're getting the name of toothless hillbillies and everything else here in West Virginia. They gave us $1,000 on our Medicaid. So I had to try to hurry up and use that for my dental before I'm old. You tell me an old person that don't need glasses and teeth. I mean, he's got the very best. I'm paying for it. You are paying for it. They got the very best, and then how dare they just take and sit there and say, oh, you eat cake. You know, are you kidding me?
So just so I have it right, you needed dental care, and essentially that the money, the relief you're getting for that, he's trying to take away.
Yeah, he took the dental and the eye out of the Medicare. So before I had to go on Medicare, I had to hurry up and try to use this. They just now this year gave it $1,000 dental on Medicaid, which is what most of us poor people have. We can't afford insurance. Are you kidding me? We can't afford stuff like that. We don't have a rainy day fund. We have a change jar fund. I mean, that's our reality here in West Virginia. And then him to act like he's so holier than thou. And I just said, Americans, this ain't a red and blue thing. This is a red, white, and blue thing. Wake up. Stand up.
Let me ask you, Pam, because it frustrates me. I keep hearing from the media almost like defending him. Well, he's been honest for months that he had reservations and he put out how he felt. He didn't hide it. And, oh, well, Trump won West Virginia by 40 points, whatever. Yeah, West Virginia is pretty red. I would say more on the cultural side, on guns, abortion, those kind of things. But it has a long, rich history of populism. It has a long, rich history of unions. As of 15, 20 years ago, it was a Democratic state for a century. The first time that it actually moved right was Bush in 2000. And part of the reason was they thought Al Gore was too extreme on guns and the environment. So West Virginia might be red culturally, but economically, Colin, put up the poll. This poll is from August. You can't see it, Pam, but I'll read it to you. This poll from Data for Progress, this is the Build Back Better plan in West Virginia. West Virginia likely voters. On the Democratic side, it had 90% support on the Democratic side. 78% strongly supported it. 12% somewhat supported it. That's 90% support when you combine strongly or somewhat. Among independents, 64% in West Virginia supported it. Among Republicans, 56% either strongly supported it or somewhat supported it. So this media, I mean, it's just bullshit. Let's just call it what it is. They're lying that, oh, he has to do this and he has to block this legislation because the people in West Virginia don't want it. Well, according to the polls, according to people I've spoken with, people do want it. They might be more Republican on cultural stuff, but economically, issue by issue, they're in desperate need. Not just Democrats, Republicans too.
Well, let's just be honest and say it like it is, Jordan. No, the corporations, the lobbyists want it. Not the don't want it. The people want it. It's the corporations and the lobbyists, the ones who's filling every one of their pockets. Manchin's number one donors are all the energy, the oil, gas, all of them. They're his number one. They done said he's the best Manchin they ever bought in West Virginia. I mean, he's not doing what the people want. He's doing what just like the GOP are doing. Like the corporations, the elite, they want to have an oligarchy. They want the poor to feed the rich, like we've been doing. And ever since we turned red in West Virginia, Jordan, we've gotten poorer and sicker. And we still keep voting the same old people in, and we get poorer and sicker. I'm trying to get people to wake up. Look at what they are doing on your table. Quit listening to this bull crap that we're listening to, that just tries to divide us and make us fight against each other. And while we're fighting each other, they're ripping us off and robbing our pockets. Is exactly what they're doing. And the people have to organize, mobilize, stand together. I have been arrested twice this year. I have been on the front lines in West Virginia. I've been in motorcades. I've been on marches. I've been in protests. Where's the people in West Virginia? Join me. Where is my countrymen? If you're tired of this crap, stand up against your senator. I don't care if he's Democrat, Republican, Independent. I don't give a crap what he is. If he ain't with you and for you, he's against you. So stand with us. Stand with the Poor People's Campaign. Stand with any organization that's going to fight this tyranny that we are in. If we don't, our grandchildren, you know what they're going to inherit? They're going to inherit little Russia.
Let me ask you, Pam. Obviously, we could be mad at Manchin. I mean, he's corrupt. But I got to point out, this whole time, this has been going on for months, I have not heard progressives who just suddenly now, I'm talking about AOC, I'm talking about Jamal Bowman, Ro Khanna, Pramila Jayapal. To me, they were very diplomatic with Joe Manchin. I saw them on TV. They didn't mention the money he made from his coal company. There was never the word corrupt when it's just blinking red lights that he's corrupt. Not just him, Sinema too. Sinema, who was doing all these fundraisers with Big Pharma and lobbyists, and she did a fundraiser in Europe while this all was going on. It seems to me that elected progressives who were like you, they were activists, most of them, before they got elected. They seem to now have an allergy to going on offense. They seem to have an allergy to calling what it is in front of you corrupt. And it seems to me that they did not activate the progressive base. Colin, here's the perfect example. You might have not seen this, Pam. I interviewed Ro Khanna, congressman, a couple weeks ago. Nice of him to come on. I appreciate it. And I asked him straight up, why is it? Well, I don't need to tell you. Colin, play the clip. I don't really get why this strategy wouldn't be. And granted, I'm not in D.C. Maybe I have an outsider's point of view. Why not say, yeah, no, this many people wanted 6 trillion. We've already gone down to 3.5 trillion. Now myself, Senator Sanders, the whole gang is going to West Virginia, is going to Arizona. Instead of trying to negotiate with corporatists, go on these people's front doors and put pressure on them. It seems to me Manchin, Sinema, they never actually have pressure on them because the media kind of slobbers over them as centrists. And the progressives, it doesn't really seem there's any rallying the base.
I'm open to those ideas. We did try to mobilize. We worked with Sarah, Jairam, Saru, Jairam, and One Fair Wage. We tried to work with labor. We tried to work with other organizations in the mobilization with tipped workers, because some tipped workers are only making a little over $2.13. So we did try to mobilize on that. I'm all for ideas on how we can mobilize to get $15 into a must-pass bill. And if there is a mobilization, I agree that that's something we ought to deliver. In terms of mobilization, I think the mobilization we need is to get more progressives into the House elected and into the Senate elected. I'm not sure mobilizing in Manchin's district, where Trump carried it by 30%, is actually what's going to move him on these policies.
Well, Manchin is, he's all of West Virginia, not a district. And I would remind you, Bernie won every county in West Virginia. So it seems to me by the polls, the people of West Virginia want the majority of what's in this. I'll also remind you, Joe Manchin didn't win by that much for Senate back in 2018. He narrowly won. So, Pam, the point I was trying to make is, you could try to be diplomatic with corrupt people who literally are making millions of dollars from a coal company they own, while pretending that this is about some moral concern about the debt and inflation and all this other bullshit. But at the end of the day, people like him, the only way you really do anything with a bully is you punch him in the face. In this case, I'm talking figuratively. I'm not saying go punch Joe Manchin, but it just seems to be progressives didn't want to go on offense against him. I'm talking about the elected officials. I know the Poor People's Campaign protested. Do you think that elected progressives have done enough to go on the offense against Manchin, Sinema, and these others?
But no, every one of them need to grow a backbone. Where's Jamie Harris and the Democratic Party? Where's the executive committees? How come they ain't hollering? Dude, you ain't with the people. We're jerking your support. Where is our party? Grow a backbone. Stand up. Your people are. How come our elected officials can't? We have sent a letter asking for President Biden to meet with us, to meet with the people. We've asked Senator Manchin to meet with us, to meet with his constituents. Now, he'll meet with the lobbyists, but he won't meet with us. I spoke with Mr. Rokon. He was at one of our press meetings, and he's like most of them. Hurrah, hurrah, I'll support you.
Right.
I should see every one of them on TV every day. I should hear from Jamie Harris saying, hey, we're not going to give you any more money. I don't want my money going to him. If he ain't going to support me, I'm not supporting him. And I will not vote for somebody that is not going to look out for my interests and my kids and my grandkids.
And, to me, we saw in 2016 when Trump won, instead of the Democratic Party actually reflecting, well, how did a used car salesman defeat Hillary Clinton? They just went to this Russia stuff and, Russia did it, which is not true. I mean, I was on the campaign trail. Hillary Clinton lost. A, she was a bad candidate, but B, Trump was striking populist tones. He was full of shit. He didn't mean any of it, but he was saying, I'm getting rid of NAFTA. I'm bringing the jobs back, blah, 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 blah. And people bought it. Well, what the Democratic Party is doing right now, to me, is creating plenty of room for more authoritarian right-wing leaders to win. Because what they're doing is they're depressing the turnout among voters like you, among other voters, certainly among black voters who came after them in 2020 and 2016. They're depressing that turnout because why are people going to turn out if when they had 3 branches of government, they did not deliver? I mean, honestly, I think Build Back Better, what Manchin just blocked, is a Band-Aid It's not what we need. I mean, the
Right.
3.5 trillion to me was a compromise in itself. For climate alone, experts say you need $8 to $10 trillion. This has $500 billion. So I worry. I don't know what you think, that this is really this is just expediting the right wing takeover of this country.
And it is. And if the people don't stand up, then we don't stand a chance. That's the only thing we've got is us, because we see Senator Manchin is sabotaging the Democratic Party. He's sabotaging the Biden agenda. He is bought off. We're seeing that. We're hearing it and watching it on TV. And instead of coming to us and saying that here in West Virginia, he goes onto a propaganda channel like Fox News. Do you know what a slap in the face that is to his constituents here in West Virginia? That you don't even come here to a town hall. You don't even announce here in West Virginia what you're going to do to us. You ain't got enough gall to tell us to our faces. You know, because I'll tell you why. He knows what the answer is here in West Virginia. He knows he is not working for the people of West Virginia, and he knows what he will face if he comes out. So he keeps hiding, and he keeps bobbing and weaving from, and every issue that he's bobbing and weaved from, we proved him a lie in. We brought Jeffrey Sachs here when he was saying, oh, we can't afford it. Now the inflation, well, you want to hear what I think about the inflation? It ain't because of us. Every problem they want to blame on the poor. It ain't us. We ain't got nothing. The rich and the wealthy that's playing with their spaceships that keeps getting more and more and more, and we keep giving them more and more and more. And you know what they're doing? They're price gouging us. They're raising the prices on everything to where we get even more poor and even more suppressed. So that's what's causing the inflation. You give us a chance, let us get this economy going, there won't be no inflation. So quit blaming us for your corporate buddies and look at your neighbor, because that's who's causing it, not us.
And can you just talk about, because Joe Manchin likes to talk about how West Virginia, we're an independent state. We don't want a handout from the government, blah, 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 blah. Maybe he doesn't know the numbers, but West Virginia gets some of the most support from the federal government in terms of welfare, unemployment, healthcare, you name it, because there's not real job opportunities in West Virginia, because essentially the state has been sold to Joe Manchin's coal interests, because the state, it's like many other states in this country, the local government has been basically sold off to the coal barons like Joe Manchin and others. So I've been there. You have people I speak with that have master's degrees that can't get a job in West Virginia. You have people who literally are going bankrupt trying to afford dental care. But he keeps talking about, I know my constituents, and my constituents, we don't want big government. We don't want a handout. Well, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. He lives on a yacht. He drives a Maserati, yet he tries to paint himself as some lunch bucket Joe who's connected to people like you. Correct me if I'm wrong, you tried to meet with him earlier this year and he blew you off.
Yep, sure did. And I'll tell you what, here in West Virginia for last few elections, a lot of us, like me, has had to hold our nose and vote for Joe Manchin rather than see a worse person get in there. That's been our choice. And it's not just Joe Manchin. Our governor is a coal baron. So we got it coming at us every which way there is. The people in West Virginia, ever since we've lost our coal jobs to acid rain and to innovation, the only thing they decided tourism and mass incarceration is how West Virginia was going to survive. And that's how we have survived. We've got low wage service jobs as in the tourist industry. Like you said, our waitresses are making $2.13 and hoping day to day they get a good customers or not. Don't want to work breakfast shift because it don't give as good a tip as evenings. And their kids, they can't buy their kids Christmas. They're going to Toys for Tots and the pantries trying to get their Christmas. That's how we live here in West Virginia. So I don't know what constituents he's talking about, because it sure ain't us. Because I know who his constituents are. His daughter lives in a $9 million mansion that she got off of burying our 4 kids and are sick and dying from opioids. So, you know, that's what we're fighting. And every state is fighting a corruption. Like you said, it's corruption, pure corruption. Our Supreme Court is ruling against us. You know, they done fixed it. I mean, we have to stand. We have to clean this mess up. We can't leave this for our kids.
What do you want people to know about your life and people you know in West Virginia? The struggles economically that you're dealing with, particularly throughout the pandemic, because it was already very tough before the pandemic. It's become even worse during the pandemic. Yet this man, he doesn't want to provide the child tax credit. He wants to means test, apparently, child's tax credits. He doesn't want to expand Medicare. What is the reality of what's going on there that people should know that you and others are living with day to day?
Let me tell you something about their means test. They started that crap when they did the welfare reform. My poor old grandma, after my grandpa died, went to try to get some food stamps for her. 60-some years old. You know what they told her? She had to sign up on a work program. Are you kidding me? That's the kind of bull crap they pull with the means testing. Are you poor enough to want to eat? You know, are you groveling enough? You know, in West Virginia, like I said, most of our people live on minimum wage. We struggle. A lot of them, they go to the food pantries once, twice a month to help stretch the food stamps out. Rent, people are moving in with each other. They ain't got no money to fix their homes up and stuff like that. Are disabled. Justice took some of the CARES Act money to clean up a 5 years waiting list for our poor old disabled that was on the list waiting to get this home health care and wheelchair ramps, things like that. I mean, you know, the mental health that the pandemic has caused, you know, I think that's had a lot to do. You know, there was a lot of hate and division stirred up, but with the pandemic, you know, we've gotten to have to look out for each other more and stuff. And we're all in this. I think we're having to see more and more of each other's struggles and each other's sufferings. And to know that, you know, we're humans. I don't care what color you are. I don't care who you love. We're human beings. And we deserve when they are making record profits through this pandemic and our wealth has slid backwards. That tells you right there something's wrong. It has to change. We have to stand, and we have to quit electing people that don't give two squats about us.
I agree. Pam Garrison, thank you very much. You're with the Poor People's Campaign down in West Virginia. Actually, let me ask you, because some in the audience were asking, I know you're a grandmother. Manchin's up for re-election in 2024. Any interest?
I hadn't really thought about it. I've been so busy trying to make us America what we can be. We can be so awesome, so great. If we quit listening to oligarchs and people that want to suppress us and keep us down and keep us back in the 18th century, they're taking women's rights away. They're going to take this little dab of money. I know a widow that just turned a widow. Her husband at 30-some years old died of massive heart attack. That's what she's been living on, is that little bit of tax credit, and she's got a 10-year-old. You're going to take that away from them. You're going to put them on the street. We got to have the Christmas spirit, not just a Christmas all year long. We got to look out for each other. We got to do what the Bible really tells us to do. Have love, charity, look out for each other. Lift us up, not hold us down. Be the America we can.
Well, also, by the way, all the things you were talking about, while all of you were suffering, Joe Manchin just voted yes for a $75 billion defense budget. Didn't seem to have any worries about the debt, inflation, nothing. Actually, it was more than Biden even asked for, but Manchin voted for that. No problem. In fact, the infrastructure deal that frankly is a bit, I mean, it's not enough for the crumbling infrastructure. It's like $500 billion of new money. That adds 200 something, I think 200 billion to the debt. He didn't have a problem with that. Seems that he has a problem with anything that could add to the debt if it helps people like you.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jordan, we took and told. I had a meeting with Nancy Pelosi. We said, hold the line, Nancy. Don't pass one without the other. Pass them together as a package, or else don't give the corporates their money if the people ain't going to get no at the table. We told Janet Powell that. We told Barbara Lee that. We told them all that. Don't pass them one by one. Pass them together and throw the Voting Rights Act in there too. It don't give the corporations it all. But look what they did. And now look where we are. We tried to tell them if you do that, then the people won't get nothing. They will cut us out. And that's exactly what they're doing. The corporations are going to make their money in the infrastructure bill. You know what we're going to get? More low-wage jobs. A few. And that's it. That's all we're going to get. We tried to tell them, pass them together, hold the line. We got you back. And they wouldn't listen. So now look where they are. They should have listened to the people.
Thank you, Pam. I appreciate it. Have a nice holiday and be
You
safe.
too, Jordan. Thank you. Stay safe, honey.
Thank you. So that was Pam Garrison. She is a member of the West Virginia Poor People's Campaign. Steve Grumbine of Real Progressives. He's joining me next, so stay tuned for that. By the way, for those that were asking, she was wearing a mask because she just had a dental procedure. So that's why, not because of COVID. But, you know, what's unbelievable to me, I've been to West Virginia twice. This whole media nonsense, oh, it's a red state. Trump won by 40%, by 40 points. So Manchin, he's doing exactly what his constituents want. Manchin, he's doing exactly. He's in sync. He knows West Virginia better than I do or you do. Well, I've been there. I've spoken with progressives. I've spoken with Republicans. Yeah, it's pretty red if you talk to them about guns. It's pretty red if you talk to people about abortion. It's not red if you talk to them about the child tax credit. It ain't red if you talk to them about Medicare, expanding Medicare. It's not red if you talk to them about a $15 minimum wage. That's not true. That's not true at all. This is a media myth that the media perpetuates to give cover to Joe Manchin. And Steve and I are going to talk about it. I'm just waiting for him to join. This is not only about Joe Manchin, folks. Joe Manchin, yeah, he's easy to paint as the political Bond villain. And by the way, super chats are welcome. I'll read them at the end. Didn't see any yet. He's easy to paint as the Bond villain. It's not just about Joe Manchin. There has been basically, virtually zero pressure put on Joe Manchin, put on Kyrsten Sinema, put on Pelosi, put on Schumer, put on Biden in the Biden presidency by elected progressives. AOC, Bernie, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Ro Khanna, Pramila Jayapal, and we're going to get to Pramila Jayapal's statement today about all this. Virtually zero pressure has been put on Joe Manchin or Kyrsten Sinema. Virtually zero tapping into the progressive base which is depressed. The progressive base is depressed, wouldn't you say? The progressive base this year has been feeling a little hopeless, feeling pretty cynical, feeling pretty angry, feeling I just did 5 years of the Bernie campaigns. I knocked on doors, I called, I phone banked, I gave money, and I don't have anyone actually on offense fighting. I don't have anyone willing to call them what they are, which is corrupt. I want to play a clip from an interview I did with Shama Sawant last week. She's the Seattle City Council member. And I want to play this because I think if you compare how Shama Sawant is, sure, it's on the local level in Seattle. And by the way, she just won a recall effort against her. I want to play this because I think it shows the contrast between her and what we've seen from progressives who could have put pressure on Manchin. Would it have changed his mind? I can't say 100%, but most people don't like to be shamed 24/7. Most people don't like massive rallies held in their state that they represent, calling them corrupt. Most people, remember, Joe Manchin flipped out at a reporter who dared to ask him about the coal company that he owned and whether he had a conflict of interest in making decisions about this legislation because he was raking in millions of dollars of coal. Literally, Joe Manchin told that reporter, I'm paraphrasing, don't say another word. But the progressives chose not to pressure him once. No rallies, no activating the progressive base, no nothing. I want to play this clip with Shama Sawant.
You do what you need to do when you use your office to expose the Democrats for their betrayals. Like if AOC were to do what I do in Seattle, which is call out Nancy Pelosi openly saying, you are betraying working people by taking the side of Wall Street, telling Sinema she is shameful for opposing even this basic modicum of justice in the shape of $15 an hour for the poorest of workers. If she were to do that, if the squad were to do that, they would immediately come under ferocious political assault from the elite in the Democratic Party establishment. And the question is, are they willing to take that on? And I don't think they are. And that's what it comes down to.
I don't think they are. I'm going to wait for Steve, who's about to join us, because I want to play these clips and get a reaction to him. But even today, when Manchin has basically shot a bullet in the Build Back Better plan. And by the way, frankly, I'm not exactly crying tears here because the plan that he just killed, it's a Band-Aid for a gaping economic and climate gunshot wound to the head, okay? The universal pre-K in the plan, there's been reporting, was not actually universal, and the government wasn't even fully funding it. And it was going to expire in 6 years. And the states would have to pay a good portion of the universal pre-K. So it wasn't even completely universal. Most of it was expanding subsidies for Obamacare, which enriches insurance companies. The climate provisions, which were, they said, $400 to $500 billion. If you actually look at the provisions, it was mostly neoliberal tax incentives. Not at all anything with teeth that could force corporations, maybe even force the Pentagon, which is the biggest emitter of carbon dioxide in the world, our Pentagon. None of the climate proposals, it looks good on paper because of the dollar amount, but it's all incentives. Okay? So what you have is he just killed something that was already a joke. But why did it get to that joke level in the first place? Why did it get to that joke level in the first place? Because, frankly, Pramila Jayapal, Ro Khanna, who I reached out to yesterday to see if he'll come on, the invitation's still out there. You know, I'm not going to shy away from being critical, but I at least respect that he's willing to come on and take tough questions. He's the only one that seems to be willing to go on to independent progressive shows and take any questions these days. I also reached out to Congressman Jamal Bowman to ask him if he'd come on. Haven't heard back yet. But because Jamal Bowman responded to something I said. So it's just before Steve's coming on now, by the way, but I want to read Pramila Jayapal's statement here. Colin, if you have that tweet. So Pramila Jayapal says she doesn't regret breaking apart the bipartisan infrastructure bill from the Build Back Better package. Quote, had we not passed the infrastructure bill, that would have been the day that the senator said Build Back Better is done. We would have still ended up in the same place. We would have still ended up in the same place. Again, I don't know if Pramila Jayapal, if these other leaders are just, I don't know if they're naive. I don't know if they truly, they're being disingenuous, but there's something called leverage. And Joe Manchin wanted and needed the bipartisan infrastructure deal. You want to know why? Because his donors wanted the bipartisan infrastructure deal. Because the U.S. Chamber of Commerce wanted the bipartisan infrastructure deal. Because oil companies fossil fuel companies wanted the bipartisan infrastructure deal because they gave subsidies to fossil fuel companies. So Manchin, it seems that Pramila Jayapal wants you to believe that Manchin was willing to walk away without the bipartisan infrastructure deal. Well, I got news for you. That's not true. He needed something for his donors. And that infrastructure deal was, as Steve and I have talked about and will talk about, was privatization on steroids, something else his donors want. So this notion by Jayapal, well, we had to vote for the infrastructure deal because if we didn't vote for it, he would have just killed everything back then. That's not how politics works. That's not how corruption works. Manchin doesn't have a real moral compass. He's doing what he needs to do to satisfy his donors and enrich himself and his family. So it's just, frankly, at this point, it's clear it's not enough that we all agree on the policies. We need to get some people in there that are willing to fight, like Shama Sawant said, and know what they're doing. Good segue. Steve Grumbine, Real Progressives, joining me now in these trying times. Steve, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there, brother. Thank you for having me on, man. It's been a while.
So we could go in a lot of directions here, but I made the headline, corrupt Joe Manchin isn't the main problem, because it's easy. I mean, I could spend 7 hours on air reading Manchin's donors and playing old clips. I could also point out from our reporting on the ground in West Virginia, we found out in 1996, Manchin lost the Democratic primary for governor in West Virginia. He lost to an actual progressive. And instead of supporting the progressive, he started Democrats for Underwood, a group to support the Republican nominee, and helped the Republican Party of West Virginia create totally nonsense ads, basically making it seem that the progressive candidate, Charlotte Pritt, wanted to make pornography videos available to school children and a bunch of other nonsense. So I could go on about Joe Manchin, and it would be easy to. But I want to address, to me, what the broader point is. When you have progressives, and it's not only AOC, but let's just start with her, that they seem to not understand what got them elected in the first place and the power of activism and the power of the progressive base. When you have progressives that even now today are dancing around this man's corruption, are dancing around the Democratic Party's corruption, I don't really know how any elected progressives could go on offense with enough temperature to even attempt to shame somebody into action like Joe Manchin. I want to play one clip just to get it going. Colin, could you play the first AOC clip? This is her on Morning Joe today, and I'm going to point out what I think is the problem.
Help feed their kids in a time of record high prices should not be extended. That doesn't seem like a problem with his constituents. That seems like a problem with his ability to either communicate or really, I think there's a different reason behind this vote.
So again, I think there's a different reason. How did we lose Steve? All right. When he comes back, he comes back. She says, I think there's a different reason behind this vote. Well, what would be the reason? And this is a continual pattern that we've seen from progressives throughout this entire year, with Biden being president, these negotiations between the Build Back Better plan, the infrastructure bill. Bernie, he said, let's get rid of Trump and then we'll fight Biden on day one. Right there. She says, I think there's different reasons why he didn't do this vote. Well, what would be the reasons? Why is it that progressives like AOC, and it's not just her, will not mention that this man is corrupt, that Kirsten Sinema is corrupt, frankly, that a lot of the other Democrats, including Pelosi, are corrupt? Why won't you mention that? How is it that this man with a straight face could say, I can't go explain this to West Virginia, to the people I represent, when he is making millions of dollars as a sitting U.S. senator from owning a coal company? Why don't you think, when you have, I think she's got 13 million Twitter followers, why wouldn't you think that would be a powerful message that the media would pick up? I lost you for a minute there.
I don't know what's going on. Sorry.
I don't know if you heard that clip, but AOC kind of danced around. Yeah, I think there's a different reason he didn't do it. But again, danced around. Would not actually say, this man is corrupt. It seems like this elephant in the room where, I don't know, Nancy Pelosi told the squad and the rest of them, be little good, team players here. Don't go too far. Don't mention, the donors or anything like that. And we'll work together and get something done. It seems to me AOC and the elected progressives, I'm not saying holding massive rallies in West Virginia would have changed Joe Manchin's mind. What I am saying is you have a better chance of pressuring someone and getting people to cave if you put holy hell of pressure campaigns on them. If you activate your base to go after them politically, I'm not talking about violence. When you shame them on their own doorsteps, when you call out the money they're taking from coal companies. And it just seems like, that's just one clip. I'm going to play others. This entire Tim, her, Jayapal, Ro Khanna, Bernie. It was all like, let's be, we're a big family here and we're negotiating and blah, 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 blah. Operating like Biden actually was operating in good faith, or Pelosi was operating in good faith, or Schumer was operating in good faith. And they actually were going to go to the mat for any of these things. It just seems to me we have paper tigers in there that will not go on offense and call out blinking red light corruption.
Jordan, it's been years. I mean, you and I have been doing alternative media in general for years. You've been doing high-end alternative media, direct media for years. We have the same story day in, day out. There's always a rotating villain. There's always a reason why these things don't come to be. You saw very little energy about Build Back Better, starting from the stupid name of the bill down to the soliciting or the advertising of the bill. I know John Yarmouth was a lead sponsor on that bill. He's very proud of that bill, but the bill that he sponsored looks nothing like the bill that they were just voting or they were going to vote on. This is, I don't know how many times I can say Groundhog Day before I start saying it's not Joe Manchin. It's the system. It is literally the system. And you have to ask yourself, are these people crisis actors? Are they really there doing real legislative work? Or are they there to give us the appearance that we're being governed by people we think we've elected, when in fact, nothing shows that the country as a whole wants so many of these things? And you said it already. It's not enough for us to want these things. It's not enough for us to have the numbers. They're not representing the people, period. And even if the Democrats and Republicans seem to agree on anything, it's only when it really isn't going to help us at all. So I have no evidence, none. And I've looked, no evidence whatsoever that we have a functioning democracy.
And, we don't. And I've been on the road. We don't have a democracy.
We don't. But this is my point, though, right? So it's like, there's this funny Captain Kirk meme, a cartoon where he's like, like every liberal under the sun is kind of mocking these things, because the fact of the matter is that we should stop being shocked. We should stop being awed when they come to do exactly what they do every single time. And I think that we are at a point where this is so hard for us to come to grips with, because we want desperately to believe that these elected officials are our representative government, that we have a representative government, that we have some say in who gets elected, and they're going to follow us. Damn it. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, I'll keep talking.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. So ultimately, without us having a real come to Jesus when it comes to our expectations and our understanding of the way the political environment is, if we continue to hang our hearts on this, our hopes and dreams on this, we are going to be perpetually disappointed. And in many cases, we're going to waste valuable time that some that are on the margins don't have to give. And I'm of the mindset that most people probably didn't even know what was in this bill, didn't really understand what was in this bill, didn't care what was in this bill, just had been come to the point where they didn't think it was worth supporting. There was no energy for this bill, none. And I don't know how. I mean, like at a time where our country has literally watched the world lap us, China is kicking our asses all over the place. At a point where that's the case, you would like to believe that even Republicans would step up to the plate and say, wow, but that just goes to show you this isn't real. I don't believe it's real. I believe they already knew this was the outcome. I believe that this was, oh, we fought the good fight and it didn't happen. And I believe that that is going to be the same exact scenario time and time and time and time again. I see no evidence to suggest that the rotating villains are going to go away. I see no evidence to suggest that even bringing an AOC or a Rashida Tlaib or an Ilhan Omar or any of the others are that they're going to sit there and be vocal, that they'll stand out of line outside of Pelosi's love, hug. I see no evidence of any of that, which tells me that this is systemic. It's bigger than one person. And I just don't see a way forward that way.
Let me play this clip while you get your camera sorted.
Sure.
So people aren't looking at a hologram. Colin, if you could play the next AOC clip, because this is another example to me that they seem to be just dancing around corruption. And I agree with a lot of what Steve said, and we'll touch base when he's back. Colin, play this second clip.
I said earlier, when we were in negotiations, originally the entire country's infrastructure plan was in one bill. And this bill could be passed with all Democratic votes. It was a decision to separate these two bills and just break apart one part which was this quote unquote bipartisan infrastructure plan that has a lot of fossil fuel subsidy giveaways, of which Manchin is a known ally of the fossil fuel industry, and then separate the extension of child tax credits, separate the real actions that are going to protect us from climate change into the Build Back Better Act.
So there you go. Another one. And these are small things, Steve, but I think it makes a difference. A known ally of the fossil fuel industry. What does that mean? Why won't you say we have a major corruption problem in this country? Joe Manchin is corrupt. Kyrsten Sinema is corrupt. Look at Kyrsten Sinema. She supported the very thing she's against now. The only difference is, look at who she's been taking money. Joe Manchin is the head of the Energy Committee. He is the chairman of the Energy Committee. Yet he made $4.5 million. $4.5 million from coal while sitting senator. It's easy for me. I could say this shit. I don't want to run for office, but why? I don't know if they've been seduced. And maybe you're right. Maybe this is all theater. Maybe they're just crisis actors. But to me, I think it makes a difference when you actually have elected politicians with massive platforms, by the way, that go on offense, that don't mince words, that call them what they are. Because you want to know something? The media will always go after progressives, but there's something they won't do. The media cannot resist conflict, so they will cover it. They will cover conflict. They will cover a food fight because that's all they care about. They're like political nerds. So if you have progressives calling him corrupt, they don't have a choice but to mention, oh, he actually does take this money from X, Y, and Z coal company. Better yet, if you actually have them holding rallies in West Virginia, going on local West Virginia TV. Bernie did an op-ed in a West Virginia newspaper that ruffled Manchin's feathers. But it just seems like you could bring the baby to the river, whatever the saying is, but they got to drink the water. During this whole thing, they refused to call this corrupt. Frankly, they refused to even criticize Pelosi, who reporting came out saying she was the one rejecting a billionaire's tax, saying it was a bad idea. So I don't know. You might have not been here for this, but I'll play this clip again for those that didn't see it. I'm going to reference Shama Sawant one more time. Yeah, it's on the local level, but she does everything I'm talking about right now. She doesn't mince words. She calls the Democrats corrupt. She activates the local base of working class people, white working class, black working class, immigrant working class. And she just won a recall in December when people had already come out to vote in November. They came out again for her.
Right.
And she just defeated a right-wing recall. Why do you think that is? Because of her personality? No, because people know she's fighting for them because she's vocally fighting for them. I'm not going to lie to people and say, yeah, if Bernie and Manchin, we lost them again. If Bernie and Manchin, if Bernie and AOC and these people would have, permanently camped out in West Virginia and held rallies every day, would that have forced Manchin's hand? Maybe, maybe not. But you have a much better chance of forcing his hand if you actually go on offense. Colin, play the Shama Sawant clip one more time.
You do what you need to do when you use your office to expose the Democrats for their betrayals. Like if AOC were to do what I do in Seattle, which is call out Nancy Pelosi openly saying, you are betraying working people by taking the side of Wall Street, telling Sinema she is shameful for opposing even this basic modicum of justice in the shape of $15 an hour for the poorest of workers. If she were to do that, if the squad were to do that, they would immediately come under ferocious political assault from the elite in the Democratic Party establishment. And the question is, are they willing to take that on? And I don't think they are. And that's what it comes down to.
Did you hear that, Steve? Oh, I don't hear you. Now I see you. Did you hear that? Your audio's off.
Sorry, man. It's just like one of those tech disasters, but I'm trying.
That's okay.
I'm here.
That's okay. Shama Sawant. Yeah, you could say, well, that's local. That wouldn't work in D.C. I don't know why that wouldn't work in D.C. I don't know why it wouldn't work to activate your progressive base. But she said something. If you didn't hear it, I'll transcribe. She said they have to be willing to come under ferocious assault.
Yeah.
They have to be willing to come under ferocious assault. And it seems to be, and to be fair, AOC, the rest of them, Ilhan Omar, we know, horrific death threats and all that. So I'm not minimizing what they get. But at the end of the day, this is what you signed up for. And I just don't know forget morality. I'm just talking strategically.
Yeah.
You have corrupt people, and Manchin's not the only one. I agree. Manchin, Sinema, they're kind of taking cover for a lot of other Democrats that probably agree with them, but don't want to be vilified. But you cannot even begin to pressure and shame and make people like Manchin buckle if you don't even go on offense in the first place. And to me, these comments by AOC on Morning Joe, let's be fair. She voted against the infrastructure deal. Rashida Tlaib voted against it. Ilhan Omar voted against it. Jamal Bowman voted against it. Cori Bush voted against it. Ayanna Pressley voted against it. So, they deserve credit. They voted against it. Ro Khanna voted for it. Pramila Jayapal voted for it. And Pramila Jayapal today was still defending it. Ro Khanna defended their vote too. But it just seems to me, even today, they're coming out with these wish-washy, oh, he's an ally of the fossil fuel industry. In the other clip I played, oh, I think there's a different reason he didn't vote for it. Well, what would be that reason? Why do we stop at he's an ally of the fossil fuel industry? Why do we pretend this is like the WWF growing up, like fake is real, And I love the WWF growing up.
Yes. Now
this is like-
now we're on the same page.
Like, this is like fake is real, like World Wrestling, whatever the
Yes.
entertainment now, where, oh, he's an ally of the fossil fuel industry. He is the fossil fuel industry. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, that's it. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is his entire family is locked up in coal, making money hand over fist. And if you, let's just say hypothetically, all this is real. That's fucking corruption right there, period. That is corruption at its core right there. At the very, like the most whitewashing way possible. It's at least the very appearance of evil. It's at least inappropriate. It appears inappropriate. Just at the very, I mean, the most simple way of looking at it. But this is corruption. We're talking about massive amounts of corruption. But again, I really believe that if it isn't Joe Manchin, it'll be Cory Booker like he did last time with the pharmaceutical prices. There's always going to be someone throwing a wrench in the gears. It's like you're just wondering which one will it be this time? Who is it going to be? And Joe Manchin is in a state where he's safely able to act like, a teabagger. He's able to behave in such a way and nobody's going to flinch. Again, this is a very generous statement here I'm making because I don't believe I genuinely believe that this whole thing is a pitched battle. I genuinely believe that. I didn't before. I didn't. But this most recent thing really pushed me over the edge. When you look at payments during a pandemic that we couldn't get, that's a big deal. When you know that Joe Biden has a stack of executive orders on his desk a mile high that he could do without the help of anyone, and he's not doing it, from student debt, you name it, you can't make that up. This is all stuff that if he really genuinely wanted to, if this was a real thing and Democrats were really fighting Republicans, and also he has a stack of weapons right there to go to war, to elevate the Democratic cause and probably train on the entire Republican Party if that was really what this was about. He could literally, student debt gone, this done. I don't even have to ask your permission. Sign it right there, executive order, done. He's not doing it. He's not doing it. So when they come crying to you saying, but we've got a blue wave in 2022, blue wave in 2024, blue wave. This is what your blue wave. They had a supermajority once again. Obama supermajority, Democrat supermajority. And guess what? Nothing. Bupkis. Zip. You can't, that level of ineptitude, that level of fecklessness goes to a whole new level. And the fact that we believe it and we watch it because we can't stand the idea that we're living in a Truman Show. That this is just, because how could they possibly be this feckless? Just a statistical anomaly. They should accidentally win here and there, right? I mean, just accidentally win here and there, but they don't. And this whole inflation game, there's not one of them that knows how to answer the question. Are you serious? That's bullshit. I'm just a dude and I can answer the question. You know what I mean? It's like, how is it possible that this level of fecklessness, it's beyond the pale. It's like the woman in the red dress in the Matrix. They have that little glitch. It's like, oh crap, okay, it's not real. I see it now. I see it now. But that they're not even faking the red dress in this, man. I mean, I'll
pretend I watched the Matrix and
you never saw the Matrix.
No.
Oh my God, dude, for real. Okay. Between Ted Lasso and the Matrix, you're behind. We got to get you hooked up on one of them anyway. But the fact is that the Matrix was like a virtual world that you could walk through and live in, but you're really a battery. You got a thing plugged to your neck and you're just sleeping, fueling the system with your body's energies. And they've got this fake world that you're living in, and they pull Neo out. They pop the thing off the back and he sees it's a bleak, shitty world, the real world. That's what we're dealing with here. We don't want to see the bleak, shitty world. We keep wanting to see the girl in the red dress. We keep wanting to eat the fake steak because we think that we're going to be happy living in this fake world. But the truth of the matter is that it's like there's a tsunami behind us. And if we don't turn our back, the tsunami's not there. But in reality, the minute we turn, we see the towering thick wall of water getting ready to drown us all. But we can't do it. We can't turn around because it's too scary. And I think that's where we're at with this. And I don't mean to sound, I'm not even cynical. I don't even consider myself cynical. I consider myself just statistically impossible for them to be this feckless. 2 times in a row, you've had White House, House, and Senate under Democratic rule. And each time they couldn't pass any meaningful legislation. Impossible. Impossible. I don't know how you could be that low. Trump was more successful getting Democrats to vote for his bills than Biden's been able to get Democrats to vote for his bills. I mean, it's that level of insanity.
Right.
I don't know how you make that up.
I also want to point out, well, let me play one more clip. Colin, let's play Jamal Bowman. So we played both of the AOC clips where she danced around Manchin's corruption. Let's play Jamal Bowman.
Because while progressives have been blamed for not fighting for the president's agenda, we've been fighting for the agenda from the very beginning. And Joe Manchin and everything he represents has been trying to kill it.
Again, everything he represents. What does that mean? Everything he, AOC says, he's an ally of the fossil fuel industry. Okay. She also said, well, I think he didn't vote for it for another reason. Just dancing around. Jamal Bowman, everything he represents. Again, it's like the World Wrestling Federation when I was a kid. It's just pretending or dancing around, blinking red light corruption. And why is it then that the people become complacent to corruption and just accept that this is just the government we have? Because nobody makes an issue of it. Because nobody even dares mention it. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I would say, you mentioned something. West Virginia might be a right-wing state. Before you came on, I had a West Virginia resident. It's mostly right-wing on cultural issues, on abortion, on guns, on whatever the latest bullshit culture war is. Economically, West Virginia's got a rich union history. West Virginia's got a rich populist history. So let me tell you something. If you stay away from all that other cultural crap, and these progressives would have got on the ground in West Virginia and went on offense against Joe Manchin and held rallies. I mean, look what they did to a lesser extent. And sure, people could say it was theater. But look what they did during the eviction moratorium. In the last minute, they started camping out on the Capitol. They actually forced the media to cover. The media wasn't even covering that it was about to expire. Right. They actually shamed Biden and the Democrats for allowing it to happen. And temporarily, before the Supreme Court nixed it, all of a sudden, you shamed people into pressure, shamed people into action. Now, people will say, oh, Jordan, you're giving them too much credit, this and that. Well, it's not about that one. It's about the actual act of protesting. It's about the actual act of activating the base. Because when Cori Bush did that and then other progressive electeds started camping out with her, it excited the progressive base and they got involved. You could have done that on a much grander scale. You could have put the issue of Manchin is corrupt, Sinema is corrupt. Frankly, Pelosi, Schumer, and Biden, who are basically caving to everything Manchin and Sinema want. Look at their donors. What is the risk there? What do you have to lose? Nothing. And you have to wonder, we're not psychologists, but at a certain point, you have to wonder whether they've just become cushy in their positions and they think they have been seduced by this idea, which I think Elizabeth Warren, who came in 2012, was a real capital P progressive in my view, and then became seduced to, it's better to be at the table. It's better to be, and she has COVID, so hopefully she's feeling all right. But it's better to be at the table. It's better, you can't get anything done unless you're inside, the halls of power. I'd rather be inside than Bernie's outside game. Well, how's that worked out for Elizabeth Warren? And it seems like AOC and these others are on the same trajectory. The last clip I'll play is Bernie. This was the most forceful I've heard him in the Biden administration. Go ahead.
Okay, and we keep...
I have a lot of explaining to do to the people of West Virginia, to tell them why he doesn't have the guts to take on the drug companies and lower the cost of prescription drugs, why he is not prepared to expand home health care West Virginia is one of the poorest states in this country. You got elderly people and disabled people who would like to stay at home or forced into nursing homes. He's going to have to tell the people of West Virginia why he doesn't want to expand Medicare to cover dental, hearing, and eyeglasses. I've been to West Virginia a number of times, and it's a great state, beautiful people, but it is a state that is struggling. And he's going to have to tell the people of West Virginia why he's rejecting what the scientists of the world are telling us, that we have to act boldly and transform our energy system to protect future generations from the devastation of climate change. You know, what's going on now, Jake, in Washington is the big money interests are pouring hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to make sure that we continue to pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, that the rich do not start paying their fair share of taxes. And I would have hoped that we could have had at least 50 Democrats on board who have the guts to stand up for working families and take on the lobbyists and the powerful special interests. We have no Republican support. Not one Republican in the United States Senate or the House, for that matter, is prepared to stand up to the drug companies or the insurance companies or the wealthy. I would hope we would have had 50 Democrats. But if that is the case, then I hope that we will bring a strong bill to the floor of the Senate as soon as we can and let Mr. Manchin explain to the people of West Virginia why he doesn't have the guts to stand up to powerful special interests.
Oh, so you want to vote on it no matter what, even if...
Absolutely. Absolutely. The American people have got to understand what is at stake. For decades now, what Congress has been doing, giving tax breaks to the rich, not standing up to the drug companies, so that we end up paying the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, ignoring climate change. The President of the United States and almost every Democrat is trying finally to address these issues.
Did you know this was coming?
Mr. Manchin doesn't want to support us. Well, look, we've been dealing with Mr. Manchin for month after month after month. But if he doesn't have the courage to do the right thing for the working families of West Virginia and America, let him vote no in front of the whole world.
So how do you tell somebody out there watching, wondering, how come you...
So he's getting closer there, a little closer to just saying that he's corrupt. And people might say, Jordan, so what? So if they all called him corrupt, what would that do? He would still kill the bill, or he would still whatever. You know what? Maybe you're right. But that's like saying to the fire department, well, should the fire department not come because, you know, the house is probably going to burn, you know, or there's going to be a lot of damage. I mean, it's beyond comprehension why a band of intelligent people, Bernie has the fiery speech when he was running for president, why they have basically become, ducks in fetal position that can't just call it out. Because I actually believe Manchin in particular, and these kind of politicians are subject to public pressure, are subject to being publicly shamed, are subject to being tarred and feathered politically. But if you're only going to dance around it, and you're not going to point out their donations, you're not going to point out the fundraisers they're doing. For God's sakes, The Intercept got audio of a private call Manchin was doing with donors. I didn't hear any of these people pointed out. Your thoughts?
It's going to sound like I'm hitting the rewind button, but in this particular case, I'm tired of symbolic victories. I'm tired of seeing a well-meaning person put their fist of solidarity in the air, knowing full well that they're going to go home with the selfie, the t-shirt, and maybe a cardboard sign from a protest and say, well, we didn't win, but we gave it the old try, right? I am of the mind. Let me reel it back. You know that my primary subject is MMT. MMT is highly dependent on the government doing the will of the people, right? It's not that, it's there regardless of whether they do the will of the people. It is what it is. But my point is, to really get max value out of it, you got to have representatives that not only understand it, but are there to serve the people. Okay. So by what I'm about to say, you'll need to understand that my primary activism is modern monetary theory. And I'm here to tell you that I'm saying that without a functioning democracy, without a functioning representative body that serves the will of the people, casting a ballot, showing up to the protest with your fist in the air, doing all the things that we've grown to do, listening to Bernie give a great speech, listening to Obama give a great speech, listening to all of them give a great speech, watching them sleep on the steps. Give me change. Give me real change. The people want it. It's not like we don't want it. We're tired of being servants. We're tired of being serfs. We're tired of being in a feudal system. None of us want this. None of us want this. But yet it continues. And I can't answer the why other than to say that I don't believe we're going to be able to vote our way to an infrastructure bill. I don't think we'll be able to build back better with a vote. I don't think we're going to be able to. I think, unfortunately, we've got to look behind us and see that tidal wave behind us and say, okay, let me quote Alec Baldwin, of all people, from the movie Glengarry Glen Ross. It's fuck or walk. It's shit or hit the bricks. Get them to sign on the line that is dotted. Oh, you're at a bar? Yeah, I was a salesman once. Tough racket. Get the fucking job done. And they're not. So if that's the case, then we've got to build parallel systems. We've got to build institutions that support us in between all the election cycles. We got to keep that organizing power going, even when there's no election. But unfortunately, 90% of us check out when the election season is over. And so the 10% that are burning out, you know what I'm talking about? The 10% that are burning out as we keep struggling through while everybody else is checked out, doing their thing, waiting for the next election cycle so they can door knock. They can go, I love Bernie. They can do all the same things that they did the last 100 million years. We have got to take that paradigm and shake it and say, it ain't working. It's not working. It is not working. And set up things that keep us consistently tied in, organizing strategically. But think about this for just a minute. How many project managers do you think that these right-wing think tanks and all the other stuff have on staff, making sure that shit's done on time, on budget, absolutely mitigating all circumstances that could risk analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, all that. This is what we're fighting against. And we're out there, hey, we could just do it. I feel a burning urge in my loins. Let's go do something. Nobody's willing to plan. Nobody's willing to build. Nobody's willing to do the right thing. And then they get pissed when somebody has the sack to say, we have got to really organize. And that means, no, I'm sorry. I know you don't like project management, but you got to do project management, folks. You got to really show up and do the dirty work that organizes these things to keep it flowing. And this is where we're going to either win, and we can win. We really can. But we are against very well organized, real organized systems, actual systems, flows, process flows. They do this shit in their sleep. They got stuff automated to feed us propaganda. And we're sitting there, we can't even get people to share our work. And we're the only way, because they've got algorithms to block our voices beyond that. And then we've got the petty infighting and the next pop-up media group that's going to start their own thing. We can't build for tomorrow. We can't build for survival because we're too petty and too in the trenches fighting each other, instead of realizing the bukkake bullshit over here is really theater. And until we stop focusing on that only, and we start really getting serious about building and not checking out because it got tough, but really doing the hard work, even when we're depressed, even when we're sad, even when shit's going on in our lives, we show up, we do the work. And that, my friend, is why Manchin's going to get away with it every single time. And that's why Republicans will be able to get away with whatever they do in the theater of it all. They'll be able to get away with it again because we're too busy thinking, wow, when can I start door knocking again? When can I start making phone calls again? I want my new bumper sticker for my new favorite politician. As long as we keep that up, we're never going to build to take that down. And it won't get taken down by voting, Jordan. I mean, I think you know me well enough to know that I'm not an irrational guy. I really am a thinker. I try to be very, very, I try to focus on theory. I try to focus on practical solutions. I try to focus on organizing. And I try to understand the boring economics of it all so I can put it all together. I'm telling you right now, as a guy that feels that way and thinks that way, that if we don't build alternative institutions as a movement and stop waiting for elections to keep happening, we are never going to have anything. We can't wait for AOC to bring her troops down to West Virginia. She's not going to do it. We can't wait for Ilhan Omar to do it. She's not going to do it. We can't wait for, what do you call it? Rashida Tlaib. She's not going to do it. We can't wait for any. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. And it hurts. It makes me sad. I want to be able to say that. I want to show up to a rally with my fist in the air again and a cardboard sign and feel like I'm doing something. But it's not doing what we think it's doing. And even when we do get a little burp out of the needle, we do budge the needle, it drops right back down, and then it retrenches and it goes even further the other direction and keeps the rightward march going, the fascist march going, the freaking neoliberal march going. It's hard work, but that's my take.
I don't know if you might not have the answer, but how does that look? Are you talking about people getting together and forming local activist groups, economic actions? How does this action work if people are now to basically say, yeah, I can't depend on whatever
I don't
they
think
call
you throw it all
these
out.
days?
I think you continue to focus, to pay attention to it. If you know what I'm saying, I think you just peel away your expectation and you put your hope and dreams in building. So for example, alternative media hubs, connected communications, talking to each other, sharing information, making sure that we all know and we can activate our own communities, having people in our own communities not just think that they're there to be fanboy or fangirl, but to show up with their uniform on and their gun in their back, and a proverbial gun. I'm not talking about a real gun. I mean, show up to the fight. Stop being a snowflake. Stop. Oh, he said something that hurt my feels. I mean, show up for the fight. The fight is bigger than any of us. Not one of us is big enough to block this thing. We need all of us. So you look at mutual aid. Mutual aid is a tricky thing because it's kind of like nebulous to some extent because most people aren't familiar with it. But we got to teach people what it is. We got to show them how to set it up. And we got to build chained networks around the country. We got to work with our brothers and sisters around the world, not just in the US, but people that have other ways of doing things, other access to things. I had the blockchain socialist on the other day on my program. He had previously been on Greenwald. But when I had him on my show, we talked about blockchain for the left. And I am not a Bitcoin guy. I'm not a crypto guy. You're never going to get that out of me. But the idea of being able to use blockchain technology for backstreet organizing, for developing software systems on the left that allow us to do things that aren't picked up. There's a lot. I mean, you got to look at it each step along the way. You got to look at the technology. You got to look at the messaging. You got to look at the form and function of what we do to support one another. We got to be able to make it so that regular people can eat, survive, whatever. And we've got to do it with purpose, and we've got to do it connected. And the problem is that we got too many soloists out there that want to start over and over again. And we got too many people that need infotainment instead of putting on that soldier's uniform ready to fight. And what I'm telling you is that I believe that if we build those things, come together, identify what our needs are, identify what our requirements are collaboratively, build a design for the system, for this network, lay it out, draw it out, identify where we need hubs, where we need expertise, recruit those people into this network, build them, build processes, build connected communication systems. This is not even difficult. We're in a modern age where these kind of tools are available to us. There are so many people out there that are coders for progress, left-wing people that know how to do this stuff. We need to bring those people together. And we need to bring them together, not as a revolutionary force, but more of a communication force, a way of organizing together so that we can do things like what you said about going to West Virginia, to be able to bring an entourage that rivals that of AOC, since AOC won't do it. When's the last time you saw her do something like that? Was that standing on Pelosi's desk when she first got elected? That's the last time I've seen her act like the revolutionary.
She just went to stand with the Columbia students that are striking.
Well, give her credit for that, right? But the point I'm making here is that we need more than that. We need much more than that. And it's not like that other person over there, that whole, we need somebody to do it. We are us. It needs to be us. We need to do this. Okay. And what unfortunately I think we're also dealing with, and I'm just going to be really frank, we've got a lot of people out there who think that a revolution, or not even a revolution, but this kind of a systemic problem that we have to fight is going to be done conveniently between the hours of 9 and 5 with breaks at 10 and 2, and be able to have a nice hour-long lunch break with medical benefits and everything else. It's not going to be convenient. It's not going to happen. What if you have supper going on at the time when you need to be organizing? Guess what? You're going to have to eat supper on the run. It isn't going to be a sit-down meal with a folded napkin. You're not going to have the perfect water glass and the right forks and knives. You're going to have to get out and do things when it's not convenient. And this is a problem. I'm telling you, I have lived this life for a long time. It is vital in order to make the change, unless we're perfectly content with things as they are. And if we're content, then there's no point in building alternative ways of organizing. But if we're not content with that, relying solely on a vote is not going to get us anything. And I'm telling you right now, you could build this in tiers: communication layer, okay, the labor resource layer, the food, Maslow's hierarchy of needs layer, whatever you want to call it. And you could build systems in each one of these stacks of this layer, like a TCP/IP, stack. You could sit there and break this stuff down by form and function. And you could build processes and tools and techniques inside of each function and connect them. I'm telling you, I could see this neural system in my brain without even thinking about it. If there's people out there that are technical, that are willing to work with a project program manager with a vision for architecture, talk to me. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm sick to death of people being full of inertia. I want change, and I want it yesterday. That's where I'm at. I'm serious. So I hope that didn't spoil the day, but I'm telling you, that's where I'm at.
No, I want to bring up something, and I think it's valid. We already live in a right-wing country. I mean, the Democratic Party is a right-wing party. I think there's clearly authoritarian strains and authoritarian actions going on in the Democratic Party. You look at Biden, his prosecution and continuing the prosecution of Julian Assange. You look at what they did, or that they chose to allow the prosecution of Stephen Donziger to continue going on. You see the crushing of protesters, environmental protesters in Minnesota at Line 3. The Democratic Party is a right-wing party. The Democratic Party is also authoritarian. But we also have to look at degrees. And the right wing of this country and the Republican Party, the conditions that allowed Trump and that strand of authoritarianism to rise, and for Trump to even sniff the White House, much less get elected, are the exact things going on right now. The Democratic Party, with complete power, essentially providing small ball crumbs to the masses after a global financial crash, providing a healthcare program that was a Republican plan, but that basically was for insurance companies, not people. Yeah, there was one or two good things in it, but it wasn't a monumental shift. Obamacare, doubling down on Afghanistan, doubling down on the drone war, doing nothing about income inequality, not raising the minimum wage. The list goes on and on. All of this under Obama and the Democratic Party set the conditions to depress the base, where Hillary Clinton, I'm not a fan, but on paper, she was qualified, right? She lost to a used car salesman. And I look at what's going on right now, and I'm not telling people vote blue, none of that. But there is a growing white supremacy movement in this country. Absolutely. There is a growing conspiracy movement in this country. There are people, we now have Omicron. You've had COVID, I've had COVID. We now have another strand, a variant growing around. And a huge reason for this, by the way, is Biden will not challenge Big Pharma on the patents, so that we could actually deliver the vaccine formulas to third world countries so they could manufacture it. We're going to have variants till we're all dead. It's going to be an every year thing, new variants that evade vaccines, because most of the world, especially poor countries, are heavily not vaccinated. And I don't really care. I'm not here. If anti-vaxxers want to get in the chat, I don't care. To hell with you. I'm not getting into a discussion with your delusions. Get vaccinated. But the point I'm trying to make, all of this that we're talking about, in addition to screwing the working class and the masses, this is literally inviting an extreme right-wing takeover of this country, because the Republicans are going to take over next year. Make no mistake about it. I don't see any scenario as currently situated that a Democrat could defeat a Republican in 2024. They're not providing anything for the masses. The infrastructure deal was a joke. Sure, the COVID relief bill, that's not enough to change anything. I really fear we're headed towards a Reagan-like revolution, only with the added component of QAnon, anti-vaxxers, and this growing white supremacy movement.
Do me a favor. If you ever get a chance, there's a podcast, Symptomatic Red, with Philip Morofsky in it. Philip, I think, is from Notre Dame University. He's a smart guy. Did a great podcast, probably the best podcast I've ever heard in my life on neoliberalism.
What's it called?
It's called Symptomatic Red. And the guy's name is Philip Morofsky, Mirowski. And what Morofsky said in this thing was that neoliberalism gives you this narrow decision pool, this choices that are this big. There's a whole big pie of choices, but neoliberalism gives you this choice. It's right here. And what they do is they give you another choice that's absolutely unacceptable. There's no way you'll go for it, right? And then they give you another thing that there's no way you'll go for it. And so they bring it to this thing that they had already predetermined they were going to do, and it's wherever it is in that spectrum. And what they do is they make you feel like that is the totality of your choices. There's nothing else. There is no alternative. And this is the key to third way triangulation in neoliberal spaces. And so everything that you're talking about, even right now, and dude, you're like one of my favorite people in the world. Even with what we're talking about, we're still talking about a very, very small subset of choices here. We've accepted that narrow space. It's brilliant propaganda. It's brilliant because it works. It penetrates everyone's minds, and people willingly or unwillingly or unconsciously absorb that there is no alternative mindset in that little tiny thing, like maybe a 5 degrees of choice out of a 360-degree pie. 5 degrees they're willing to give you, and they fight tooth and nail over less than this much space. Like it's almost imperceptible, the difference. The difference here is that right-wing populism, if you will, this extreme nationalism, etc., is where the identity politics has taken us, and it's what has allowed that space to thrive. The most natural space, going back for generations, has been to defend home turf because of a belief in scarcity. It's that fake belief in scarcity that makes us fight tooth and nail against one another. And it's because they've given us this much room to operate. So if you think about what I'm saying here, Philip Morofsky, Symptomatic Red, neoliberalism, look it up. But they're only giving you this tiny space, and you believe you've got the sum total of all the choices right there. Not necessarily once you step back and think about it, but it's impossible almost to think about another choice. And they've given you the full universal set of choices in that little narrow space. And that is what is driving things going to the right every time. The Democrats don't provide an alternative. They want to be the center party, what they call the bipartisan party, but there is no left to bounce off of. So it's only the right wing and the center right wing competing with one another for this tiny slice of pie that we've considered to be the universal set of all things that we can choose from. And we've got to break that. We've got to snap that. And I tell you right now, the only way to do that is through media, is through educating, through not just infotainment, but really educating people. And they got to take it seriously.
It's a good segue for people to sign up as a member to Status Coup.
Yes.
We'll talk about this when Steve leaves, but yeah, we want to double and triple down, because to tell you the truth, in 2022, to me, the only thing I know is that when you wake more people up, you grow more activism. But you need to wake up the masses to what's going on, because as I've always said, I'm not being cheesy. This is what I really believe. Most people in this country that I have met, because I've been around the country for 6 years. I think I've been to 30 plus states. God knows how many cities. I've interviewed at this point thousands of people. Most people are not lacking compassion. Most people literally have no fucking idea what's going on. Let me repeat. Right. Most people are not lacking compassion. Most people have no idea that Flint's water is still poisoned 8 years later. Most people have no idea that people were being evicted throughout this pandemic despite the eviction moratorium. The list goes on and on. Most people, the stories that we have broken on the ground and the people we speak with have no idea what's going on in West Virginia or elsewhere because they live in their little bubble. Okay? So media, especially reporting on the ground, is super important. Can it change the system and overthrow the corrupt? No, but it could wake more people up, not just progressives. I'm talking all people. Yes. Whether even we have viewers that say, I don't agree with anything. I don't agree with you on most things, Jordan, but I appreciate your reporting in Flint. I appreciate you reporting here. I didn't know about this. And it's not just Status Coup. Others need to do more of that, but it costs money. So that's why, if you can, $5 a month, statuscoup.com/join. Sorry to interrupt you with a shameless plug.
No. But this is all part and parcel with it. See, if you don't see alternative media, and not just all alternative media, because there's a lot of alternative media out there that is grift, pure grift, okay? And they're nihilist. I am not, even though I'm telling you, I believe this is a theater, okay? I am not a nihilist. I am a true believer in building the society we want. I am a true believer in MMT. I'm a true believer in socialist movements. I am a true believer in we the people, okay? But I am a true believer in reality. And I struggle with what reality is daily, right? Like not in an insane way, although maybe it is. I think neoliberalism creates a bit of insanity in all of us, okay? It's that belief that everything rests on our decisions. Every decision we make is gonna, it's on us. We failed. We fucked up. We there's no chance of better. And it's that neoliberal belief system that has literally permeated every pore, every cell in our bodies. And to be able to purge that faulty, twisted, disease-ridden thinking, we have to have alternative media that can produce a different narrative, that can do the hard work. And I love, Jordan, the work you do in the field is second to none. Second to none. And I say this as a brother. I really value what you do. And the things that I do are not sexy, unfortunately. I wish I could shed myself of some of the things that I do, but they're so important. Just I have no idea how to get people to listen half the time, right?
Well, it's not helping that algorithms on this platform and others are hiding what you do. Because there was a time when Real Progressives on Facebook was getting tons of views.
30 million. We had 30 million people passing through our place every month. Those days are long gone. And, I didn't want to get back on video, Jordan. I really didn't. I like doing podcasts because then people can't judge me by my gray hair, my beard, my eyes. They don't like whatever. I could just talk to them and the issues that we're bringing forward will come out. And that's the background is my podcast, Macro and Cheese. It's good. Trust me. I wouldn't tell you otherwise. But the fact is that it's almost impossible. I don't do op-eds. I'm not in the op-ed business. I do op-eds with you, and I do op-eds with other people when I'm invited. But with the stuff that I do, I typically bring on experts and I have them educate. We're trying to talk about how these things work, and it can be a little wonky. It can be a little challenging. But the problem is the fight that we're up against is challenging. Just understanding the libertarian crypto space and trying to understand what that libertarian strain is trying to do, which is really fueling that right-wing push, okay? That DeFi, that decentralized network is incredibly powerful. And it's being used for things that you and I would like to see not done. And so, like I was saying, when I was talking with the blockchain socialists, there is a group, goodness gracious, it's Bread Chain, I think is what it's called. It's a co-op that they're working to build out a way of using blockchain for socialism, for the left. And you know, he told me, he says, when you walk into this space, it's like you got to walk through a big old shit storm, literal shit flying at you, because it's nothing but ANCAPs and crazy libertarians talking all kinds of nonsense, ridiculous insanity. But once you get through the nonsense, you get on the other side, you know, there's an opportunity for the left to position itself. So I'm hoping through this process, and that all costs money, by the way, right? Every bit of this takes money. It all takes time. I mean, I work full time. I'm a full-time dad, and I still put in 80 hours a week doing this at night, in the middle of the night. You see me tweeting at 3, 4 a.m. I never sleep hardly. And so this is how consuming this is to me. And it's frustrating because I watch people wander off to groups. I mean, they're talking about reparations with people that don't even know what reparations are. They're talking to people about a Green New Deal when they don't even know anything. And they're like flies on shit with that, because people are just opinionated, giving their opinions. But when it comes down to saying this is literally how it works, crickets. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. And so how you bypass it, how you overcome that, I don't know. But we have got to do the thing as opposed to just talk about the thing. And I think that that right there, that building process requires a project plan. It requires a vision. It requires laying the brick and mortar. It not just building ethereal systems, but really building systems that can stand up, that can withstand the enemy, and allow us to continue to build and build and build. And like you said, Real Progressives, we had 30 million people a month coming to us. When I would go live, we would have 400 and 500 people watching live at the same time. That was back in the day. And mind you, it got even more than that for a little while, and then it shrank to nothing. Now you're lucky if you got 50, 60, 100 people watching. If you're very lucky, you've got a great audience. You're very blessed in that sense. You work really hard for it. But you know already that could be taken away from you in an instant with some slight change of the algorithm. And so,
hey, by the way, this is the biggest audience we've had in weeks. YouTube has been killing us. So I hear you.
Well, I hope that we are able to find a way. And Jordan, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you. This is not a joke. I think we need to do our things, but we've got to come together and start bringing other groups together and saying, fuck it. I don't care if you hate me or not. I'm still going to be your ally in this. We got to find a way to fucking work together. If you don't like my eyebrows, don't look at me. Just fucking work with me and help me build this thing. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, if you don't like the gray on my beard, get over it. You know,
Right.
Let's find a way to fucking work together. If you don't like how passionate I am, get over it. Find a way to work, because we got to get this done. You know, and I think that really is, that's where it's at, Jordan. I believe anything other than build for the future and really build those things is just keeping us busy, is keeping us on the hamster wheel. I could be wrong. I don't think I am, though. I don't think I am.
Steve Grumbine, where can people find your work at Real Progressives?
So come to our website at realprogressives.org. Follow me, Austerity is Murder, or SD Grumbine, on Twitter. You can find us at Real Progress US on Twitter. By all means, go to our YouTube channel, Real Progress in Action. You know, I'm hoping you'll find my podcast, Macro and Cheese, to be informative. I'm telling you, I am literally killing myself to make sure we get the most important information out there. Not the same kind of information you do. We're complementary organizations. We're not competitors in any way, shape, or form. You and I are fit like a glove, Jordan. And if we can find a way to build on that, I think people will be able to find a way to use both of our platforms to maximum capacity and really start changing the world.
Thank you, sir. Have a happy holiday. I know
You
you're
as
burnt
well,
out.
buddy.
I know you're burnt out, so take some time.
I am, man. Thank you, sir. Have a good one. Thank you
You
all.
too.
Bye.
That was Steve Grumbine. I'm going to read super chats, but I wanted to give a quick, we're going to give a few public service announcements, so don't go anywhere. Status Coup announcements. But first, I wanted to let you guys know, if you're not aware, that Jen Dyes, who was with Status Coup, was obviously the co-founder. She is launching her own media company called Courage News. So I wanted to make you aware of that. She's also launched, Colin, if you could pull it. Oh, there it is. A GoFundMe for her soon to be launched media company, calling it Courage News. The goal is 20 grand. So obviously a tough climb. She's been able to raise $300 so far. Let me read what she's trying to do. The world needs independent media now more than ever, specifically uncorrupted independent media, media with courage. It's hard to know who or what to trust in a time filled with such despair. That's where Jen Dyes' Courage News comes in. As the co-founder of Status Coup, Jen helped achieve incredible success despite massive suppression. This because of our real on-the-ground investigative reporting. Status Coup is great, but we need more. I agree. We need more outlets and more voices fighting with and for the people. Courage News is launching ASAP to fill the void. So, obviously it's the holiday season. Not everybody could, afford, to chip in. If you can, please try and help Jen. I know that her heart's in the right place. I know that she, like what she did here, is going to try and cover critically important. I know that it's been her dream to be a journalist, and we just put the link in there for the GoFundMe, and I know how hard it is, and Jen knows how hard it is to grow when you're not taking massive funding from Jeffrey Katzenberg or other usual corporate suspects, which I know she's not. So if you have any amount, I'm talking $5, $10, obviously, if you got more, I know that it would greatly help her to get off the ground. And I know, she's not with us anymore, but we still are cheering for her to succeed. And I know, and I've always said this, and she's always said this, we need more than just Status Coup. I mean, I'm trying to do everything humanly possible to grow. And I'm trying to do everything I can to grow Status Coup, to expand Status Coup, to cover more things. But there's just, as Steve and I were just talking about, there's way too much corruption, way too much corruption out there for just Status Coup to cover. So please, if you can, even if it's a little bit, we'll put the link in again. Courage News is what she's calling it. I believe she's going to be launching it early on in the new year. It will include on-the-ground reporting, I'm sure. So please, anything you could do, $5, $10 more is always appreciated. I know she would appreciate it. So this holiday season, try and help Jen get Courage News off the ground because, we definitely want her to succeed in her next venture. And it's not easy. It's not easy to get anything off the ground these days, much less a media outlet in severely suppressed digital waters, severely suppressed waters on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. I mean, YouTube's CEO openly admitted this year that, if you're an independent channel, you're not going to be prominently featured in our algorithm. We feature authoritative news, more authoritative news more. And they mention Fox and CNN. Need I say more? So please, again, any amount, I know she would appreciate it. And I'm definitely encouraging you, support her if you can. So the link is in the super chat. And that's all on that. Also, I will probably be dark probably Thursday and Friday of this week, and then all of next week. I am learning a lesson. I am learning a lesson, and that is I cannot do everything, and I need to take time off from time to time because for those of you that don't know, I don't only do live streams. I do investigative reporting, which is a full-time job in itself, on top of doing daily live streams, on top of trying to go on the ground. Last week, I covered the Assange protest in the city. I also went to the Staten Island Amazon warehouse. I'm also handling a lot of behind-the-scenes business kind of stuff. So there's a lot going on. And, I've reached kind of mental and physical burnout. So I'm going to try here and there to take more time off. Next year, we're kind of like reassessing things, to be honest, at Status Coup. Not reassessing Status Coup. We're going to go on and then some. But reassessing just the format, do I want it to be going live, 4 or 5 days a week? Or would I rather it be maybe less live streams, but more, on the ground reporting? Maybe less live streams, but more, shorter interviews or more like well-produced videos from our on the ground reporting. So we're kind of going to be experimenting with a bunch of stuff because the truth is, just doing live streams 4 or 5 days a week. I like doing it. I like being connected to the audience, but it's extremely hard to pull off doing live streams 4 or 5 times a week on top of the on the ground reporting I do, the investigative reporting. For example, I'm working on a story right now, another Flint story that is really of the follow the money flavor. And it's tough. It's really tough to do it all. Henry said more. Tina, hopefully, is going to be filling in for me on Rockfin this week on Thursday. So we still will have our Rockfin show. I'm hoping Tina will be able to fill in for me. So stay tuned for that. But, it's just we're basically reassessing because honestly, I think I maybe felt like, oh, well, if I'm not live 4 to 5 days a week, then we won't be able to keep all of our members happy and we won't be able to keep all of our paid members. And then we won't have enough money through our members to fund on the ground reporting. And I think I'm realizing now that people really appreciate the on the ground reporting first and foremost. People really appreciate the amount of content we put out for as little of staff we have. And I think people, of course, want to see us live as much as possible, but would be open and continue supporting us financially, even if we're doing less live streams, but are still doing on the ground reporting, are still working on investigative reporting, and providing the things that very few other outlets are doing. So that's kind of what we're working on right now. We're definitely looking to bring on somebody to help with marketing and new ideas for marketing our content, new ideas for packaging our content. Do we want it to be just going live and then taking clips from the live stream and making them shorter? Or do we want to go to more things and not be live from every single thing, but go to certain things and then produce a really nice, 4 to 5 minute video that's really polished and tells a story and put that out? So right now we're just kind of experimenting with a bunch of new things. So hang tight. If you don't see us live as much, don't jump ship. We need you. Please support us as a member. By the way, shout out. We just got a new YouTube member, Becky Danu. Appreciate it. Do not jump ship. We need you. We don't want you to go anywhere. And actually, Colin, can you come on for a second?
Yeah.
You're not available Wednesday, right? You told me?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I just blew up your spot because I was going to say, I think we need to do a end of the year members call, but I'm trying to take off Thursday, Friday, and next week. So yeah, we'll figure it out.
I'll be available later in the day Wednesdays. We can talk about it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Sorry, I just blew up your spot live on the internet. But we do have to do another members call before the end of the year because I want to speak with the members before we go. We will not screw it up this time. Because last time there was an issue where not everybody had the link right away. So basically right now, Status Coup is in good shape, but we are going to be doing some experimenting. We might be live a little bit less. We hope that you will remain a member as we experiment with new things. We hope new people will sign up because we need you. We need people to sign up at the $5 level, at the $10 level to fund the on the ground reporting. We want to grow. I would like to hire another reporter. I'd like to hire a marketing person. I'd like to hire a producer. But all these things cost money. That's 3 needs that all cost money. So we need as many people to support us as possible. So please sign up as a member, statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for as low as $5 a month. $5 a month. Yes. So that's all I got. And again, sorry to ask, a massive donation needs to step up for Jordan, like 250,000. Any wealthy subscribers, from your lips to God's ears. It would have to be a massive donation that's not from a corrupt, private equity mongrel. But if there's a progressive with dollars that wants to support us, we're open for your business if you share our values. So if there's anyone with larger pockets that believes in what we're doing, you could reach out to us. info@statuscoup.com. info@statuscoup.com. But basically that long-winded thing I just told you, basically right now, I'm going to be off next week. We're still going to have videos that we publish, just stuff we haven't published yet. But I won't be live next week. And we are in the new year going to be experimenting with different types of things. So don't freak out if you don't see us live, this and that. And don't freak out in the new year if you start seeing us trying different things. So thank you for listening to that. Again, if you can, definitely try and support Jen's new venture. Let me put it in the super chat one more time. This is Jen's GoFundMe. Hey, it's not easy getting off the ground. So anything you could do to help her, I would appreciate it. I just put her GoFundMe one more time in the super chat. It's called Courage News. Her goal is 20 grand. So obviously she got a long way to go. She's at $319 right now. So let's try in this holiday season to help her grow. Even getting her over 1,000 would be, I know she would really appreciate. So I put her GoFundMe in the super chat. Let me read some super chats. Chris, $5. No man gets rich in politics unless he is a crook. Harry Truman, who almost went bankrupt after being president. Pelosi worth $100 million. Manchin a coal baron. I think Pelosi is worth more than $100 million. But yes, absolutely right. Absolutely right. D Nord, $20. Thanks, D. None of this means anything if the people don't know, understand, and or care. Media controls everything, even the mass suppression of those shows and others that tell the truth. Yeah, I agree. Most people do not know what's going on in this country. I could assure you that. Most people, honestly, speaking of my Amazon coverage, they have their, order their yoga mats or whatever from Amazon and don't even have any clue what the workers are dealing with. And that Amazon is basically creating an economic Hunger Games so that you could get, whatever in 3 hours from Prime delivery. Most people didn't know that Flint was still a crisis. Only found out because of our reporting. The list goes on and on. So there's a whole lot of things people don't know that outlets like Status Coup exist to wake more people up. And I do believe if we can wake more people up, those people, you have a better chance of getting more people activated. You have a better chance of activating more people to actually take action against their government. Not violence, but activism, protest, God willing, economic protest. So we shall see. We shall see. Double K, $49.99. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. That's a generous donation. Thank you, Double K. I really appreciate it. D Nord, $20. Watch The Matrix, Jordan. LOL. Yes, that will be on my list because I'm taking off next week. Double K, $19.99. Thank you so much. 2 donations. I appreciate it. Cat Faye, Helen, $5 for the swear jar. Thank you. Meaty Baby, $4.99. Keep up the good work and watch The Matrix. Tony Dallas, $5. Steve is speaking words that hurt, but are desperately needed. We need to take the lead. No more waiting for Superman. Couldn't agree more. Cameron Betko, $4.99. I think the first problem to address is to change the primary system. Why does Iowa go first? It should be ranked choice for one-day voting. I don't know if that's the first problem to address. I think money in politics is the first problem to address. But I completely agree. The Democratic primaries are a rigged process. Frankly, I think we should have open primaries, period, where independents can vote. And yeah, it's absurd that Iowa, New Hampshire, and these old white states are first. I actually just read a story yesterday, I think it was, that after the clusterfuck of 2020, which to me, and from what I've reported, was election fraud, Iowa is going to stay number one. There's really no thought. And the DNC and Democratic leaders are not pushing to change it from Iowa first. So I'll be there. God willing, I'll be there in 2024. Kevin Collar, $5. Thank you. And Becky Denew, new YouTube member. Thank you, Becky. Thank you, everybody, for the super chats. Very much appreciate it. That's all I got for today. We'll be back at it. I think we'll be back at it tomorrow around 4 o'clock Eastern. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.